My name is Cara Stevens. So it's a little bit of a long story. Originally, I'm from South Africa, so I was born in Cape Town, and my family moved to America when I was 7 years old and lived in a few different parts of the States. We got to live in Washington, D.C., which is, I think, where I really started to love American history and the founding in particular. Lived in rural Eastern Tennessee, lived in Colorado, lived in Texas, and then after grad school, I moved here to Ohio. So now I'm calling myself an Ohioan. I plan to be here, long haul, but I'm also oddly, in a way, an African American, and I'm very proud of my American citizenship. It took a while to get it. This semester, I teach History 212, which is one of my favorite classes to teach, just introduction to first half of American history. And then I'm also going to teach colonial America, which is another one of my major areas of interest. I have one cat. Her name is Margot. Apparently, if she had lived in a barn in Ohio, she would have eaten a lot of rats. But instead, she lived in an apartment with me, so I've had to adjust my life accordingly to try to keep her happy at all times. She looks sweet, but she's not. I got a PhD from Rice University in Houston. I was actually feeling really discouraged about the state of the history job market and academia in general. And I was preparing to apply for jobs at a think tank, maybe go into nonprofit work. I wasn't even going to go on the job market when I graduated from my PhD program. But I happened to attend a conference in Williamsburg, Virginia, and I met somebody there who teaches in our MAG program, Rob McDonald. And as I was talking to him about my kind of sad outlook on the job market, he said, well, have you heard of this place called Ashland? They're hiring. It sounds perfect for you. And indeed it was. They were looking for somebody with exactly my area of interest at exactly the right time. So it was really serendipitous and providential that I found Ashland at the moment that I did. Oh, that's not a fair question. I don't know that I can think of one right off the top of my head. There have been many books that were painful to read. Usually for me, a book is painful to read if it is overly grotesque or vulgar, or I feel like it really drags my soul down and fills my mind with images that I don't want there. Those are the books that I hate. I had to read a few like that. I was an English undergrad. So I try to only read things that edify or inform or lift me up in some way when I can. Yep. So in grad school, I had to read a 400 or 500 page book about the history of Madeira. That was not very interesting to me. John Moser would love it. I hated it. I read a very interesting book in graduate school that was a history of a certain group of people in Africa and their journeys throughout the Atlantic world. And it was written from a perspective that these people were always the best and everybody else was terrible. So it was a great example of how not to write history, how to praise your ethnic group above every other ethnic group. So it was informative, but also terrible, bad history. There's a drink that I used to love when I was a kid in South Africa. It's a green cream soda. I can't find it anywhere in America, but it's the smell of my childhood. I love that. I actually already got to create an entire course on Thomas Jefferson. That's my main area of expertise and what I wrote a book about. And so I created a course where we look at Thomas Jefferson and the controversies around his reputation. So each week is a theme like Thomas Jefferson the racist, Thomas Jefferson the hypocrite, Thomas Jefferson the atheist. And so we look at the accusations that have been slung against him, and then we examine and see, are they accurate or not accurate, are there defenses or no defenses. So it's a fun way to look at the life of one American statesman and see how he's affected subsequent political discourse. Ooh. So this is a pour over with room for cream and 4 sugars. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams. That could be interesting. Or maybe Hamilton. Ooh. Washington, Jefferson, and Hamilton. Yes. And my husband has to be there because he needs to also see whether or not Hamilton is worth admiring as much as what he does admire him. So my book's called Thomas Jefferson and the Fight Against Slavery. It's available on Amazon, and it's also available through Kansas University Press website. They often have really good sales and deals. And it's a book about Thomas Jefferson and whether or not he genuinely opposed slavery or if he just said that a few times. So I look at the whole span of his life and what did he actually do? What laws did he actually support? What were his failures? What were his ideas that didn't pan out? And the second half of the book, I look to see whether the younger anti-slavery men that Jefferson knew, did they think that he was a hypocrite? Or did they find inspiration in his words and actions? Did they still look to him as a leader in that field? And they found that they did, that he actually was successful in starting a pretty good stream of anti-slavery thought among young Virginians. Not significant enough to turn the tide in that state, but significant enough to cause some real stir, to cause some real influence. It's very interesting to trace down through the generations. One time when I was an undergrad, the boys' dorm put fish in the ceiling of the girls' dorm. I believe they got in a lot of trouble for that. Or maybe it was the girls who did it to the boys. I don't remember. But either way, it was a very noticeable